So today, we're looking at a real paradox in what's happening around the globe. In one corner of the world, we're seeing this historic truce, a real glimmer of hope. But at the exact same time, in another corner, a brand new war is just kicking off. What do these two things, happening side by side, tell us about the real nature of peace?
Yeah, this is the big question, isn't it? How are we supposed to make sense of a world where you have this fragile peace process and a sudden, violent war happening at the same time? By digging into these two stories, I think we're going to uncover some really surprising truths about what it actually takes to build any kind of lasting stability.
All right, so our first story takes us to Gaza. After weeks of just devastating conflict, thousands of lives lost, there's finally a breakthrough. But as we're about to see, this kind of fragile peace, well, it comes with its own set of massive challenges.
And this right here is the heart of the ceasefire, a huge exchange of hostages and prisoners. For the first time in what feels like forever, families on both sides are actually being reunited. It's a really powerful symbol of hope for sure, but it's just the very first step on a much, much longer road.
For the Israeli families whose loved ones were being held captive, this is a moment of just pure relief. After weeks of that horrible, torturous uncertainty, their nightmare is finally ending. Every single hostage is coming home.
And on the flip side, Israel has released nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. Now, these are people who've been held in Israeli jails for all sorts of offenses. And for Hamas, getting them freed is a huge political win. The sheer number of people involved in this exchange really shows you how much both sides had to give to make this thing happen.
So you're probably wondering, how did this even come together? Well, this deal would have been completely impossible without a major diplomatic push from some key players. The United States, with President Trump, was a big part of getting both sides to the table. But you also had regional powers like Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey playing a crucial role, using their own unique connections to kind of bridge the gaps and get the terms finalized.
Okay, but while the hostage exchange is a huge step forward, it's so important to remember that it's just one piece of the puzzle. The deeper issues that started this whole conflict are still very much there, and they could easily derail the entire peace process.
President Trump has been quick to declare victory, but is the war really over, or is this just a temporary pause in the fighting? To figure that out, we've got to look at what this deal doesn't talk about.
And this is the absolute key. The deal is completely silent on two of the most critical, most explosive issues. What happens with Gaza's government moving forward, and how in the world do you disarm Hamas? Without a clear plan for either of those, the chance of a lasting peace is, well, it's pretty slim.
And that's exactly why so many experts are warning that this whole ceasefire is kind of built on a foundation of sand. They're arguing that unless you have a comprehensive political solution that gets to the root causes of the conflict, we're probably going to see another round of fighting sooner rather than later.
The fragility of that Gaza ceasefire is a really stark reminder that peace is never, ever guaranteed. And as if to prove that exact point, while one conflict is simmering down, another one is just boiling over. So let's turn our attention now to the volatile border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is a conflict that's been brewing for months, really fueled by a lot of mutual distrust and competing goals. But in just the last few days, it has absolutely erupted into open warfare, and both sides are reporting some really heavy losses.
Trying to get accurate information in a war zone is always tough, and this conflict is no different. Just look at the official numbers being reported. Pakistan is claiming they've inflicted massive losses on the Taliban. Meanwhile, Afghanistan is reporting a significant number of Pakistani military casualties. The truth? It's probably somewhere in the middle, but these competing claims just paint a picture of total chaos.
The immediate spark for all this seems to be a series of alleged Pakistani airstrikes on Afghan soil. But this is way more than just a border skirmish. It's a reflection of a relationship between these two neighbors that's just been getting worse and worse. The fact that an outside power like Russia is already stepping in and calling for calm shows you just how worried the international community is that this thing could spiral.
To really get what's going on here, you have to look at the pretty complex history between the Taliban and Pakistan. For years, Pakistan was one of the Taliban's key backers. But now that the Taliban are in power in Kabul, they're trying to prove they're independent. And that's creating a ton of friction with their old friends in Islamabad. And it's a huge driver of what's happening right now. So, what can we learn from these two very different stories? On the surface, they don't seem to have much in common at all. But if you look a little closer, you start to see this common thread that tells us a lot about the state of our world today.
And this is where it all clicks into place. In both Gaza and on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, we're seeing a really similar pattern. Short-term wins that are just masking these long-term unstable situations. In Gaza, the hostage exchange is great, but it doesn't solve the underlying political problems. In Afghanistan, the Taliban's push for autonomy might be a win for them, but it's creating a new and dangerous conflict with Pakistan. The lesson here is that we should probably be a little skeptical of easy victories.
So what's the bottom line? Peace isn't some destination you arrive at, it's a process. And it's a process that is constantly under threat from all these unresolved issues that are just simmering below the surface. These two stories are a powerful reminder that we can never, ever take peace for granted.
And that really leads me to my final question for you. Is lasting peace even possible in our world today, or are we just destined to kind of lurch from one conflict to the next with only these brief, quiet moments in between? It's definitely something worth thinking about.